ladies and gentlemen. With your blindfolds on, I'm glad I could walk on the stage unseen. And imagine for a moment walking here to this venue, to Grensberg, with that blindfold on. Take a moment to imagine that. Well, if you wish, feel free to take the blindfold off. But coming here when you're blind is possible today, thanks to a lot of technology. I've got a lot of technology on me here. For one thing, it's I do still have a stick, yes. It's a white cane. Very useful to signal traffic with. And yes, indeed, also very useful if you've got a cyclist staring on his smartphone trying to run me over. I will hit him. That's very basic, old-fashioned technology, but there's also the more modern technology. It's this GPS navigation system. It's a small device, just some buttons on it, and it will tell me where I am, when to turn left or right.
GPS coverage.
And now it said no GPS coverage because we're inside, unfortunately, but that's very useful for finding my way. And then I've also got my talking smartphone. And
4 p.m.
it speaks anything under my finger.
4 p.m. Friday, November 20th.
So, and of course, if you have to listen to that speech all day, it can get a bit annoying. So fortunately, I've also got this small black device here, which sends the sound from the phone to my hearing aids. So yes, it's a lot of technology, and it's really great because it allows me to do many things which I could never do without that technology. On the other hand, knowing what technology is available, knowing how to use that technology, and also knowing how to fix it when it breaks down, that can be a little challenging. And yes, you almost need a master's degree to have all that knowledge and to use all this technology. So yeah, it's not really surprising perhaps that in my studies and in my corresponding research, I got to specialize in the design of this sort of technology. So the focus of what I'm doing in my studies is to design great websites and apps and devices from the user's perspective, not the designer's perspective. And we see the latter, that we have websites or apps or devices designed from a designer's perspective. We see that way too often. And then you might get things like a website with white text on a yellow background. Well, very beautiful, no doubt. But can you actually read it? That's a good question. Or we all know the situation that, let's say you want the phone number of your favorite barber shop. You go to their website, and then you have a very full web page with all the treatments that they have. And yeah, and indeed, if you click on the beautiful tiny button in the top right corner, and then on About Us, and then on our locations, well, 8 clicks later, maybe you have their phone number, but more likely you have left their website. They're a beautiful website, but yeah. And if you have that kind of issues on a website, and you have a disability, and for example, I tried to use that website on my talking computer or the talking smartphone, then that sort of problem doesn't make it any easier for me to use that website. And then when I approach the owner of such a website or the developer of an app or the producer of a device and explain, yeah, I cannot use your website because there is some problem that is making it very difficult for my talking computer to relay it to me, then the reaction will often be, oh yeah, we're so sorry about that, but yeah, we just have 2 or 3 blind visitors per year, so we can't really do anything about it, we're sorry. Might sound like a reasonable argument. But is it? Well, let me draw a little analogy. Suppose that you order the design of a building, and the architect comes up with a design and the hallways are 30 centimeters wide. Yeah, it's very beautiful design, it's very efficient, very affordable, really nice building, and yeah, well, you have 2 or 3 wheelchair users per year, so we're really sorry, but we can't be bothered to make the hallways wider than those 30 centimeters. In the context of the building, you would say it's a little absurd, but yeah, with websites, you often have that sort of argument, because usually, if I have trouble using a website, it is really because of bad design choices that make it hard for me to access it. And in the end, that's what it boils down to. It's just a bad design. And I think that if you design your website, your app, or your building with the needs of disabled users in mind, you get a much better design for everyone. And to illustrate that following those principles really pays off, let me give you another example. A couple of years ago, we had a large retailer in the United Kingdom, and they had a web shop, so you could order products online, and it was a beautiful website. Absolutely great, very flashy, lots of graphics. When you clicked on a product, you got 10 products, which you really also would love to order. Very beautiful, except one thing, blind users had no chance of using that website. They could not place any orders with that retailer. So the retailer decided, yeah, we need to make sure that blind people can also order from us, kind of social responsibility. So let's make a special website for blind users, a text-only website. That meant a website, just text, no graphics, just some nice structure. And yeah, they didn't expect it would ever be used because, yeah, just a few blind people, but they designed the website, put it online. And then, in fact, they found that it was used quite often. And then they were like, why is this website, this text-only website, used so often? Who on earth would want a text-only website without graphics? So then they investigated why it was used that often. And then they found that the people who used that website were actually not blind people at all. Of course, there were blind people among them. But most people who used that text-only website were frequent customers. So people who just needed to quickly click through to the product they wanted, place it in their basket, and pay. Because with this text-only website, no clutter, very good structure, they could very quickly place their order. And again, this illustrates that we should not view and making sure that disabled users can use a website or app or system as something very expensive, what we shouldn't do, and very difficult. No, in fact, if you make sure that that they can also use that website, that makes it more suitable for everybody. And another way of putting that is to say that a disabled user is your best test user. Thank you for your attention.